Okay, so for this video lecture, so we will be discussing about our module 1. So by the way, our course or subject is income taxation in the Philippines. Okay, so for our module number 1, so that this is entitled Basic Principles of Taxation. Okay, so for the overview. Okay, so this module will discuss about the basic principles of income taxation. So you are going to learn here about the definition of the term, the basis of taxation, its characteristics and nature. Okay, so basically we will focus on the income taxation in the Philippines. For the learning outcomes, okay, so based also in our overview, so we will define the term taxation and describe its nature, basis, and objectives. We will also discuss about the 3 inherent powers of the state in which taxation belongs or includes. Next is the principles of sound taxation system. Identify and explain constitutional and inherent limitations of taxation. Name and describing of the situs or the place of taxation. We will also be defining tax, describe its characteristics, and distinguish its classification from other payments to the government or to the different agencies. And of course, to describe the powers of the Commissioner of BIR. Okay. So we have here the contents for this module. So first is the concept and basis of taxation, the state powers, principles of the sound tax systems, limitation for the taxation power, situs of taxation, tax, its elements and classifications, distinction of tax from similar items or payments, and the power of the BIR and the Commissioner of Internal Revenue. Okay, so to start with our discussion, so let us discuss about the concept and basis of taxation. So here we have the theory of taxation. So where does taxation started and come from? So here the theory of taxation proceeds from the theory also that the existence of the government is necessary. So meaning in every country or state, there should be a government that will rule out and manage the people and its surroundings or its what do you call this, activities, okay, as well. So here the government will not be able to discharge their functions without revenues, and their revenues is coming mainly from the taxes. So meaning there is a government that rules the people of a certain country or state or place. However, in order for the government to carry out their activities, okay, and to fund the different agencies and programs, so they need the uh, the source, okay, of income. Okay, and we all know that a government is not a business enterprise. So the question is, where do the government can have, or what are the sources of income of the government? So basically, most of the income of the government is coming from the taxes. Okay, so this is the lifeblood of our government. This is the money that the government is using to fund for the projects like infrastructures, your free tuition, okay, and other projects that benefits the people of the country. Okay. So this theory of taxation proceeds from the principle also that the government is necessary. So we need a government, and the government, in order for them to carry out their responsibilities, they need the income or fund to do it. So the fund mainly is coming from taxation. Okay, so that is the principle behind why taxation is a need, okay, of every country or state. Okay, so taxes, as mentioned earlier, this is the lifeblood of the government, meaning the government cannot function without it. Okay, so this is the reason, or one of the reason also, why the government can do their functions or can fund the projects. Okay, so the basis for this power is that reciprocal obligation or duty between the state and its citizens or its inhabitants. So meaning to say, the people needs the government to rule out, okay, the order of a certain place or country, and at the same time the government also needs the support of its citizens. So especially, of course, in this case, through the form of taxation, so that the government will have their fund to be used for their functions. Okay, so that is the reciprocal obligations between the state and the citizens. Okay, so we, citizens of the Philippines, also is obligated, okay, to pay for our taxes. Actually, that as we go along, you will learn that this is an obligation actually. Okay, so the obligation of the state is to provide protection, okay, for its citizens, that it would be able to have orderly society. Okay, so the citizens, on the other hand, okay, we have the duty to support the state. So in that sense, when the citizens are required to support the state or the government, it means to financially support our government as well, aside from following the rules and regulations. So we are obligated also to financially support the state through the form of taxation. So, and that financial support, okay, that is through the process of taxation. So even one pays more than the other. Okay, so actually in our taxation system, it will depend on your, or the level of income, on how much taxes you will pay. So meaning to say, there will be some who will pay more and others who will pay less. And there are also exemptions in which they they will not actually pay any taxes at all, but in some cases only. Okay, so although this is the case in which others pay more and others pay less and others do not pay taxes at all, but of course this will guarantee, okay, or the government will guarantee that there is equal provision of protection. So meaning the services or the function of the government will not change depending on the taxes that you pay. Okay, we receive the same services, okay, and provision from the government. Okay, so no obligation on the part of the state that no one pays more taxes should be given more taxation. So that is not the principle under here. Okay, so this is just explained. Okay, so this that is not the essence of our obligation. Okay, so what the state would assure is everyone will have a just and orderly society. So meaning this is not based on how much you pay taxes. Okay, please take note of that. So what is taxation? So taxation is the process by which the sovereign or the state or the government, through our lawmaking body, so they raise the funds that is used to defray expenses of the government. So this is actually the definition of taxation in general, meaning in a certain country, okay, in the government or in the state, through our lawmaking body, so they are the ones who are making the taxation laws, Okay, so that funds or revenues will be raised. Okay, and these funds will be used to the expenses of the government in carrying out their obligations to the society, okay, through their programs and projects. So this is what they are using. Okay, the revenue coming from the taxation. Okay, so it means that the govern or it is a means. I mean, taxation is a means of government in increasing its revenue under the authority of law. Okay, so again, the purpose of our taxation is to use this revenue or income to promote welfare and protection to the citizens. So this is the collection of the share of individual and organizations income, okay, and by the government under the authority of law. So again, the collection of taxes is operated under the authority of law, and this is not just something that the government can collect anytime. This is our obligation, and it has a law. So the citizens should abide on it, okay, to avoid any penalty or imprisonment. So taxation, this is inherent power of the state. When we say inherent, meaning it is in the natural or it is in the nature of the state of the or the government that they should collect taxes. Meaning we cannot do away from taxes. It is there already because this is a necessity and an obligation. Okay, so this is the inherent power of the state to impose and demand the contribution upon the persons, even from the properties, because the properties are also earning income if, for example, this will be sold. Okay, what else? Or right, for the purpose of generating revenues for public purposes. Okay, so the power of taxation is necessary and therefore it is inherent in every government or sovereignty, because again, the government cannot perform their functions unless they have the funds, and most likely, or in many cases, most of the revenues of the government is coming from taxation. Okay, so here, the law in the Philippines actually covers, we have the national and local taxes. National taxes, this is imposed for the whole country, while local taxes are imposed only for a certain province, municipality, okay, depending on their local tax or the local taxes that was created by their local government units. Okay, so that is what we call local taxes. So national taxes refer to the national internal revenue taxes imposed and collected by the national government. So an example of this is our income tax. Okay, this is through the BIR or Bureau of Internal Revenue. Okay, and local taxes, on the other hand, this refers to those imposed and collected by the local government. So these are specific taxes that your local government or local government unit is imposing, and this may not be imposed to other localities or other provinces, okay, or towns. So that is local taxation or taxes. Okay, so we have here the national tax law. So this is the basis for our taxation. So this is from the 1987 Constitution. Okay, so here our Philippine Constitution sets the limitations on the exercise of the power to tax. Of course, there is the obligation, but there should also be a limitation. Okay, so the rule of taxation shall be uniform and it should be equitable, meaning in this case, it should or the tax law should make sure that what is being imposed and collected from the persons or the property okay, or the business entity is enough and just and right, okay, taxes, and not more than what they should pay. Okay, that is what we mean by equitable. So the Congress shall evolve a progressive system of taxation. So here, based on our law, so all money collected on the tax that is for a special purpose, okay, and shall be treated as a special fund and paid out for such purpose only. So meaning to say, just like for example in our uh, uh, taxation, new taxation that was added, okay. For example, sin tax, okay. I don't know if that is correct, but this is what I've heard, okay, from the news, I think. Sin taxes, this is taxes that is imposed to the like beverages, alcoholic beverages, and cigarettes. That's why if you could notice, the cost of or the price of these products have increased. Okay, so the reason for collecting these same taxes is also to allocate this fund for the uh, I cannot remember the exact name of the program of the government, but it's intended for the support for the uh, those who have been hospitalized, I think, and needs financial aid. Okay, so that's an example of collecting taxes that will be levied for a special purpose. Okay, so if any, or if this fund will not be used, okay, for that special purpose, then it shall be transferred to the general fund of the government and can be used to other projects or purposes. Okay, but of course, the main reason for collecting and having taxes is that so that the government can have funds that they can use to perform their functions. So here, the Congress may by law authorize the president to fix within specified limits and to subject the limitations and restrictions as it may impose tariff rates, import and export quotas, tonnage and wharfage dues, and other duties or imposed within the framework of the National Development Program. So this one is related also to the transactions, okay, that with respect to the transportation, okay, of goods coming from the Philippines to be delivered to other countries, and those which are being imported, okay, by the country. So it will also have its taxes. Okay, so here, this is just the other portion or part of the Constitution which relates to our national tax laws. Okay, so we just have to run through it. Okay, what about our local government tax laws? Okay, so the first one, I think that's for the national. What about local government tax laws? Here, the local government taxation of the Philippines, this is based on our constitutional grant case as discussed earlier under the 1987 Constitution. So here, this local government taxation also is based on the constitutional grant of the power to tax to local governments or LGUs. So local taxes may be imposed as the Constitution grants, but it should before the LGU can impose taxes, it should have a constitutional grant. Okay, and with respect to the national taxes, local government units or LGU also shall have a just share. Okay, so this is why budgets are coming from the national government. The funds are coming from the national governments, and then each LGUs, okay, throughout the country have their own shares, because this will also be the funds that they will use to uh, to carry out, okay, their functions and programs. Okay. So, however, certain taxes such as the following may not be imposed. Okay, so these are the list of the taxes that cannot be imposed by an LGU. Okay, income tax, because this is a national taxation. Okay, except when levied on banks and other financial institutions. Documentary stamp tax, your taxes on estates, inheritance, gifts, and so on, custom duties, okay, taxes, fees, charges, and other imposition upon goods carried into or out of the country or the local government, because this is, I think, part of the national taxation. So, taxes, fees, or charges on agricultural and aquatic products, okay, taxes on business enterprises, uh, excise taxes on articles enumerated under our National Internal Revenue Code, because this is classified under the national taxation. What else? Percentage tax. Okay, taxes on the gross receipts, I mean, of transportation. Taxes on premiums for reinsurance or retrocessions. Taxes, fees, or other charges for registration of motor vehicles. What else? Okay, so we have 15 items or types of taxes which the local government unit cannot impose. Okay, so aside from this, they can have their own. Okay, so that is for our concept and basis of taxation. In this topic right here, all you have to understand is that taxation was created as an obligation to the citizens because the government needs funds to carry out their responsibilities and projects, okay, for the welfare of the society. Okay, so this is an obligation. So that will be for our concept and basis of taxation.